Hey guys, Otto here from Acquisition Partner. Now, what I'm going to do in this video today, guys, specifically is show you how I build and sell infrastructures. Now, you've probably seen online a lot of hype around build and release products and services. And I've got videos on the channel already that talk to you a little bit about how I was able to productize my ecom email agency. Well, what I want to do in this video is show you step by step what that actually means. And in the context of an email ecom agency, how that actually looks. Okay, so if you run an email agency, this is going to be specifically helpful for you. But even if you don't run an email agency and you don't deliver email or SMS as a service, maybe you do Facebook ads, whatever it might be, applying these principles and this process is going to be incredibly useful for your business. Okay, so what I'm going to do is run through this in a sequential order. Okay. And at each step, I'm going to explain what each of these individual terribly drawn diagrams represents, okay? And we are going to make this video less than 10 minutes, all right? So first things first, what we did is start with onboarding, okay? So I'm just going to write onboard. And the way that our infrastructure builds start from a foundational point of view, and the way that that differs from a traditional agency that builds out just conventional retainers and delivers a service based on that. Our onboarding, before we even go into sharing onboarding next steps, all of our clients would sign a boilerplate agreement. Now, if you don't know what a boilerplate agreement is, you can Google it. It kind of sounds somewhat nefarious or more nefarious than it actually is. But the difference between a boilerplate agreement and potentially a contract and an agreement that you're using right now is that with a boilerplate agreement, all of our terms are standardized. So the key differentiation here between what we are doing with an infrastructure and delivering a build, it differs to an ongoing service in that our clients who pay us to deliver the build cannot go back and forth on contract negotiations. Okay, so if you operate as an agency and you put a scope to a client, they're going to come back 9 times out of 10 redlining things. They're going to say, well, we don't want that, or how many emails are you delivering? What about ad spend, whatever it might be, okay? The difference between that and what we do with delivering a build is that we say these are our terms and they're standardized, okay? So we don't go back and forth. You are paying for a set of promised expectations, okay? So there's no back and forth. So we start with a boilerplate, and there are other terms, standardized terms, whatever it might be. And before we deliver anything, we get paid, okay? So we get paid up front. Now, I've got other videos on the channel about how we do that and why that's important. But obviously, the biggest reason that's useful is that it totally eradicates risk for you as an agency and a business owner of never getting paid for the service that you deliver. Okay, so when you get paid up front, you eradicate risk. You can dedicate time specifically guaranteed to delivering what you've promised to that client, and you can actually go out and find contractors and employees to deliver the service or the build, whatever it might be, because you've already been paid. Okay, so you're not going to be out of pocket for hiring out. All right. So before we even get started with onboarding, we secure terms and we secure payment. All right. So moving on to onboarding, here's what we do. All right. So we send a very simple next steps email. Okay. And you don't have to layer for layering's sake. You don't have to use some sort of complex onboarding tool or video series, whatever it might be. Oftentimes being reductionist, being simple and simplistic in how you put forth information is best. Okay. It won't confuse your client. It will actually get them to take action quicker if it's clearer what you're asking them to do. Right. So simple next steps email, and in that email, we give them a Slack invite and we add them via Slack, which invites them automatically. And we give them a Google onboarding form, okay? Inside that form, the key pieces of information we get is POC, so point of contact. So we get the specific name of the individual that we're going to be dealing with. We don't deliver a build unless we have a POC. We don't, we're not going to deliver the build to 5 different people in their company or their brand. We need one POC. We need their contact details, which means email and phone. If you have an agency or a business phone number, you can get their phone number, but email suffices. And then also what we do is we either give them an invite link to our calendar where they can book basically an insight call. So once we've delivered, they'll be able to book a call within 2 to 3 days to speak to us about any questions that they feel have gone unanswered. or if it's a traditional agency service, or we think we're going to close them, which we oftentimes do on an ongoing retainer basis, we'll give them a link to schedule bi-weekly calls with us and an account manager, okay? So we're not giving them any opportunity to email us and say, oh, I just need a quick call, all right? You can book in early days, and we set expectations early days, all right? So step 1, step 2, we are now on to step 3 here, okay? And the importance of step 3 is integral to how quickly you are able to finish onboarding and actually start the build, okay? Step 3 revolves around the brand and the point of contact CTAs, okay? So the call to action, what you need from them in order to do the work, okay? So if you're coming from an email marketing background, you need the logo. Again, apologies for the abysmal diagrams here. You need their colorways, okay? So you actually need their the hex files, the hex numbers of what colorways they use in their brand. There are tools that you can use to, Chrome plugins that you can use to guess those or measure those for yourself. But the whole benefit for you as an agency owner to deploy, build and release offer and to actually deliver an infrastructure is that you're scaling your time, okay? So you don't want to bog yourself down with admin that the client can do easily, okay? And then imagery. Okay, so if you're working with e-com brands, you want access to all of their product images, lifestyle images, model images, whatever it might be. Okay, so step 1, step 2, steps 3, very simple and easy so far. Now, step 4 regards the build, okay? Now, we break our build down into 2 core components. So the first one here, I've drawn, again, a very terrible image here of waves. So these are flows and these are campaigns, all right? So this is specific to email marketing. If you are running Facebook ads or, Google ads, whatever it might be advertorials to pop-ups, whatever it might be, okay? So you will specifically be able to kind of fraction off within the service that you deliver, the core deliverables and the core components. You'll be able to group those together, okay? So in the case of e-com email marketing, it's predominantly flows and campaigns. That's where you're going to generate the most results, right? So in terms of flows, we deliver on foundational flows. So these are things like your welcome series, your abandoned cart, sunset, whatever it might be. And then we also do advanced flows, okay? Advanced flows. So this is a picture of a baby, and then big muscle. Somebody's been doing this a long time, advanced flows, okay? Second to flows, what we also deliver within the build is a framework of campaigns, okay? Now within our agency, we have 5 to 6 different types of campaigns that we run, okay? So maybe you are operating on a retainer basis or you're delivering a build. When you put campaigns to your graphic designers or your copywriters, every campaign is going to serve a specific purpose, okay? 9 times out of 10, what brands do if they're early on in their kind of brand genesis is they will do email blasts, which are typically promos, discounts, okay? So we have single product campaigns, multi-product campaigns, one-off promos, and then news reports, blogs, from the founder, whatever it might be, and then special VIP offers. So these are kind of one-off VIP offers that will go out to specific segments that are highly engaged, all right? So this is what we kind of build out as our kind of core framework for the build within the email agency. Now, as part of the build and release process, there has to be a period or a kind of system of customization. And you will be operating your agency where you will have a load of SOPs in-house. You will have systems, maybe you've not even written them down yet, but you will have processes that you have put in place in order to scale your time and then to make the job and the scope clear to all of your employees and contractors, okay? Those items can be used as part of your build, all right? The second part is actual assets or, agency and brand assets that you've created. So maybe it's imagery for ads, it's copy, whatever it might be. If you've run campaigns for Black Friday or January sales or Christmas and the New Year, whatever it might be, you will already have an existing bank of campaigns that have worked for you in the past, or not. You will have something in place if you work with clients in the past, okay? So what we do within our customization process is we break it down basically into three components. So the first one is design. The second one is copy. And then the third is technical. And what we found is that through the body of work that we've got to date, we've already got foundational flows, we've got advanced flows, We've got, existing kind of framework of copy and templates and kind of campaign promo types that we use for each individual brand that we work with. But when rolling out this process, this is important because it already means that 75% of our service delivery is already deliverable to that client. So within 24 hours, it's very easy for us to clone across all of these assets. But naturally, we're working with brands in different verticals and different niches. And you can't just clone across the same assets and then expect them to do that or customize them themselves unless that is part of your offer, okay? Unless you're doing a kind of done with you offer. But for this done for you offer specifically, we go through this process. So 75% of our build is customized, and then a further 15% here is generic, and then a further 15% here we have to customize. Now we use a variety of different tools in order to do this. In terms of our designs, again, these are about 75% customized already. We already have designs for key sale months. I've already previously mentioned Black Friday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then January sales. But what we found is that if you, when designing emails, and if this is important if you run an email agency, what you have to make sure with your designs and your requirements that you're briefing your designers with is that all of your email designs flow and that they use dynamic blocks, okay? What you will find is when you pay a graphic designer, and if you're paying a significant amount for a talented graphic designer, 9 times out of 10, they will create a highly customized email, and the whole email will basically be a coming together of a load of customized blocks that they've created in Adobe or Figma, whatever it might be. But what you want to make sure is that the designs that you're paying for are not only good and built to current e-commerce best practices, but that they also leverage dynamic blocks so that you're not going to get emails in hand that you want to roll out to a new client that you basically have to go back to your graphic designer and say, I want to just change their brand name, and I can't do that because you've customized it into an Adobe file kind of thing. All right. So you want to make sure that you're leveraging dynamic blocks and that your emails flow. Okay. So the difficulty then is that if you leave too much kind of white space and too much of the email design as being generic, then it will look chunky and clunky and it won't look like it flows. But I promise you, if you find the right graphic designer, you will find a way to balance those two in harmony, okay? So that's what we do specifically to get around that customization process for designs, for design templates, right? Now, when it comes to copy, we are literally living in an era where you can go on ChatGPT, you can use Claude, whatever your sort of AI tool of choice is, and you can plug in every core component and variable and kind of use case and input for each individual brand, and it will spew out copy that is pretty good. All right. Now, the better you get at email marketing, and I guess the more individuals that you come in contact with who have knowledge about email marketing, the better you're able to create content and copy that's actually going to convert. Now, what I recommend is if you're new to the game, sign up to a load of newsletters, join a load of brands that you are fans of or a fan of, sign up to their welcome series, sign up to their newsletters and look at the type of copy that they are producing and then plug that into ChatGPT. Likewise, if you find that you onboard a client, maybe they are in the menswear space or men's streetwear space, go to their competitors, see what their competitors are putting out, and then leverage that within your prompts. Okay, so I'm not going to go into how to prompt ChatGPT or what we do. And again, look, you are delivering a service, although it's productized and it's overnight, you still can put in some manual, tangible effort. Okay, you can proofread the copy. What I'm not recommending is just plugging it into ChatGPT, copy and pasting and leaving it, okay? That's not what I'm recommending. But leverage these tools, use them if you are not, okay? And now the third point here is about technical. Now, we cross-sell and downsell a load of tangential services on the back of delivering our infrastructure build, okay? But typically what we will do, if a client has a advanced technical kind of problem that needs a solution, we will either add that on as a cross-sell or downsell, or equally outsource it. So if it's something that's, eventually migrating accounts, or it's something that's highly technical on the deliverability front, regarding their sender domain, whatever it might be, we might outsource that at that point in time to a technical expert. Now, the beauty of this model is that you don't have to do this. You don't have to rely on expert input from the very start of this process. But when you run a traditional brick and mortar agency that's based on retainers, where you're not getting paid up front, you will have to outsource to somebody who knows what they're doing, okay? So instead of paying 2 to 3K per month for an expert, what we do is we bill $400 per month. for a what we call a full stack Klaviyo manager. And they in turn manage 4 to 6 accounts / builds, okay? So they're kind of an implementer, we'll call them. So the beauty of this model is that you get to reduce all your moving parts. You don't have to rely on a huge team of experts, not least every new client you bring on, you can manage your variable costs because you don't have to bring on a client and then bring on another expert to service them. You can leverage a small amount of human capital. It requires very little input financially, if not zero, once you've got the designs in place. And I'll make another video on how you can do this without social proof and reviews, because you can. The one strategy that that we've used originally is actually leveraging the implementers and contractors that you are bringing on board to do the job, leverage their experience and their case studies and portfolio too, okay? Obviously in full transparency and being fully open with them to do so, all right? So hopefully, guys, this gives you a good top-level overview of how I went from running my traditional brick-and-mortar agency on a retainer basis and dealing with all of the chaos and problems that came with that, to actually launching and deploying a build and release infrastructure offer. Now, drop me a comment in the comments below. Drop any questions you might have. I'd be super happy to answer them, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, cheers.